Well, hello YouTube! For those of you who do not know me, my name is Jasmine Fernandez. I am an IFBB Bikini Pro. I am also a sponsored athlete with All Max Nutrition. I really wanted to create this channel as a place where I can further connect with the followers that I have on Instagram. I get a lot of questions there that I can't always necessarily answer in a comment or sometimes not even in a post. So I'm happy to have a platform here on YouTube where I can go further into depth for those people who need that. And then of course I am looking forward to meeting all kinds of new friends here on YouTube. So some things about myself. I am 23 years old. I was born and raised in Tampa, Florida. That is where I live currently. That's probably where I'll live for a really long time. I don't foresee myself moving anytime soon. I come from a really big Cuban family. I'm pretty American myself though, so I don't fluently speak Spanish. For those of you who are now going to come up to me and start speaking to me in Spanish, I don't know it fluently. I know it's terrible. I understand it more than I can speak it, so I'm working on it. Let's see, what else about me? When I was just 3 years old, my parents put me into gymnastics, and I did that for a really long time. I got pretty good at it until I was like 8 years old, I think. It became a lot. I had practice about 4 times a week, and it was 3 hours a day every practice. So for an 8-year-old, you can imagine that was kind of a lot. It wasn't really something that was fun for me anymore. It became work, so I stopped that, and then I later got into cheerleading. And then I did that mostly through high school, and then after I graduated high school, I was kind of like, well, what do I do now? It's kind of when I wandered into the gym. This was also around the time that, you know, fitness on Instagram was kind of picking up. This was like 2012 I graduated high school. So 2012, 2013 is when I started working out. I think I followed Michelle Lewin and all of her workouts for a really long time until I kind of started figuring it out on my own. And then my friends and my family started recognizing my results, so they started recruiting me to help them in the gym, and that eventually led to me getting my personal training certificate. So I did personal training for a little while, and that was pretty much it. I mean, I've been obsessed with the gym and working out and helping other people work out ever since. I started competing just a year ago. I did the Tampa Bay Classic, which was just a local show. It wasn't a national qualifier or anything. I wanted to do a local show to start out with, just to see if this was something that I even liked before I put in all the time and the money and then started traveling for it. So after I did the Tampa Bay Classic and I placed first in novice and in open, I waited until the following January, because that was in June. No, it wasn't January. Wait, was it January? No. I'm sorry, it wasn't January. I went in March, I think. I don't remember when the show was. Anyway, last year around like March, I went to the Southeast Classic, which was in Miami. That was a national qualifier. So I also placed first in the open class there. And I went just a few months ago in November to Miami to do the National Bodybuilding Championships, which is like the biggest national show of the year. So I was pretty nervous about it, but I ended up placing first there for Class A again. So now I'm a new IFBB Bikini Pro, and I'm currently in prep for my first pro show. So keep out for that. I'm definitely going to be keeping you guys updated with how my prep is going, giving you lots of tips, and answering questions for any of you guys who have questions about competing. If you follow me on Instagram, then you know I am always trying to bring you guys some different workout routines. And I really want to make this channel not a place where I just tell you workouts to do, but I really want to teach you guys how you should be performing these exercises, because it's really not about what you do, it is about how you do it. One of the things that I get questions on a lot is obviously the glutes. As a bikini competitor, the glutes is like our bread and butter. Glutes main function is hip extension. Hip extension happens in movements like the Romanian deadlift and in the glute bridge. We're also going to get a really good glute connection when we are in hip flexion. You'll also feel your glutes when you perform hip abduction, so anytime that you're bringing your legs outward, either in a cable lateral kick or either in the hip abductor machine. So it's pretty easy to get a connection when you're doing those exercises. but getting your glutes to activate in compound movements can be a little bit more tricky. I typically only hit about 3 to 4 glute specific exercises when I'm hitting glutes, but I'm gonna go over 5 of my favorite glute activation exercises for you guys today. And I'm just gonna talk you through how you can actually activate and specifically feel your glutes in these exercises without feeling anything else in your back or your legs. We're focusing on the glutes. So first, pre-activation. You wanna activate your muscles and get some kind of pre-exhaustion warm-up happening. That's gonna help to wake up your nerve system and ready for your workout. And we're always gonna try and warm up with body weight movements, and then we will later move on to the machines. You always wanna start with the exercises that are gonna take a little bit more out of you, where you're using a lot of your stability muscles, and then later move on to exercises in machines where you're more stable and you can just focus on using that one muscle group. So when I'm hitting glutes specifically, I almost always start with this exercise. It's my favorite for pre-activation, and that is the quadruped. I don't even know what it's called. Please hold. Okay, so it is specifically called a quadruped hip extension with a bent leg. So the first thing that you want to do before you start any exercise, and this is super important, you want to tighten your core and tuck your chin in just slightly so that you have a neutral spine and a neutral head. Instead of arching your back, you actually want to bring your pelvis under and tuck your butt in. You're going to keep everything very stable. The only thing that should be moving is that leg. You're not going to have any movement in your spine. You're going to want to always try to start squeezing and contracting that muscle from the bottom of the movement. So here in the kickback, before I even start that kick up motion, I'm already thinking about trying to squeeze and contract that glute before I kick up. If you're able to get a connection from the lengthened position, you're guaranteed to have a much better contraction once you get all the way up to the fully shortened position. After we get warmed up with our kickbacks, we're gonna move on to the Glute Ham Raise machine. This is a hip extension with a glute focus. So again, when we start this exercise, we're keeping a really tight core. We're making sure that our back stays nice and straight, and we're not gonna move anything this entire time but our glutes. Initiate the movement with the muscle that you are trying to work. So if we're working the glutes, we're gonna start contracting the glutes first. And you're just gonna tuck your glutes under, and I'm just thinking about bringing the upper part of my glutes down towards my ankle and really tucking my glutes under into the pad and squeezing my glutes until I start to feel myself move upwards. All right, so our next exercise is going to be the Glute Bridge. This is another hip extension movement, so it's gonna be really, really good for activating the glutes. With this exercise, you wanna take a little bit of a wider stance. Because of the way the hip joint is, you're just gonna naturally get a better connection if your legs are further out. Then you're gonna start to rotate that pelvis up and squeeze the glutes until you feel yourself just naturally start lifting off the floor. And you're thinking about getting the bottom of your glute towards the ceiling. You're gonna hold that contraction. Try and hold it for at least 3 seconds and just slowly descend on the eccentric. The eccentric is where the most muscle damage happens, and where there is muscle damage, there is muscle growth. If you are unable to hold and pause a weight at the top of a movement and control it on the way down, you are using too much weight. Remember, the weight is not the important part here. You want to be recruiting as much muscle fibers to complete the movement as possible, and that's what's going to get you gains, not pushing through movements and just trying to get it done. So this next exercise is a little bit more on the advanced side. If you're a beginner, it's not impossible for you to do it. I would just focus on doing it with the band and not using a barbell to start off with. The special part about this exercise is the band that we are placing around our hips. We want to be able to feel those glutes from start to finish. So in a good morning or in a deadlift, we can absolutely get that connection when we're at the bottom and when the glutes are fully lengthened. But as we start to stand back up and we get to full hip extension, there's just not as much tension on the glutes unless we add a band at our hips. So now, as we're standing back up and we're bringing those hips forward, we have resistance coming from the band that's at our hips. So now we can contract from the bottom of the movement all the way through and keep that connection through the fully shortened position. And last, but certainly not least, the leg press is actually one of my absolute favorite exercises for glute building. Because we're nice and secure in the leg press, we can get a really good stretch in the glutes and focus on contracting them from start to finish. We can also add a lot of weight because since the line of force isn't coming from the top, we're not feeling that pressure on our back or our joints or our knees, and we can focus on keeping the connection in the glute even as we continue to add weight. And you're also going to place your feet high up on the leg press with a wide stance. You want your feet to be high enough so that once you bring your feet down, your ankle and your knee are at a slight angle. You never want to start arching your back off the back pad. You're keeping your back nice and flat against there. I even like to hold the seat and really dig myself into the pad to make sure that I don't start moving anything else other than my legs. So as you bring your legs down towards you, you're gonna spread your knees outward almost so that your knees kind of hug your body. Your hips are naturally gonna stop your feet from coming down if you keep them straight, but if you turn your knees outward, you're gonna increase your range of motion by at least a few inches. And then once you're in this fully stretched position, that's when you're gonna start thinking about pressing against your heels and squeezing your glutes before you start pressing that pad upward. Obviously in the fully lengthened position when the weight is down, it's the hardest part of the movement. So that's why people typically rush through that, because it's just the body's natural reaction. So we're gonna fight against that and we're gonna slow our mind down, we're gonna slow our body down, and we're gonna focus and slow down every single rep. So those are some of my favorite exercises for activating your glutes. I hope you enjoyed the tips and I hope it wasn't confusing in any way. I really look forward to making more videos for you guys and being able to answer questions. So please just let me know what you would like to see from me. Thumbs up, subscribe if you liked it, and I will see you guys next time.